Hello everyone, this is Commander Trium here once again. And we are obviously witnessing an update. Looks like we're witnessing updates to the graphics of the game. At least some of the graphics code. Hopefully some of the functionality as well. These will be bug fixes from the first pass at the Beyond update. There's a second pass coming later on in the year at some point. This is the FNS Quantica. It's a Python-class vessel. You'll hear me talking about it tonight if any of my wingmen log in, and of course, it is our primary craft for transporting people and cargo, while offering a substantial defense factor. Oh dear, we did not want to do that. Let's go here.
Disconnected.
Alright, let's take care of some of the more up-and-coming planetary scan jobs. We have one in the HIP 495 system. The Wajemi system. Let's do the one that's worth 1.7 first.
Successful.
That's strange.
Detach confirmed. Was Rocker the traffic was passing the airlock?
Shift drive charging.
There's 3 missions in here. We'll begin by having a look around here. And we do indeed have a interstellar factors outlet in this system. It is very likely a Townshend orbital. So we will move there and see what we get.
Docking request granted. Flight assist off. Flight assist on. deployed. Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
Currently under anonymous access protocol engaged.
Ship released. Engines engaged. Landing gear retracted. Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Orbital flight engaged. Orbital flight engaged. Incoming message. Cannot comply. Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello?
Hello.
So, what are you up to this evening?
Trying to rebuild my reputation in Tangora because I fucked up.
Oh, okay.
I got my ass blowing up when I had about a dozen or more scan missions on me.
Oh no.
Yeah, I failed all those missions and lost reputation, went to friendly status. Now I just gotta do a bunch of missions to get back to Allied.
Oh, I see. Why is Allied so important?
Better missions.
Oh, I see.
Better paying missions.
Yeah, I noticed that, well, you need a combination of things. You need the starbase to have lots of planet scan missions, or lots of the mission type that you have, or want. And you need to be allied, and you need to have the right ship to get the job done. And right now, for me, that is, I get the missions I want from whatchamacallit, HIP 493 at Siadamak Port. And like in the same sector, if I go to Okorafor Station, where I'm also allied, I don't get this. I don't get the same mission options.
Usually, it has to do with what state. If it's in a boom, they'll offer better missions.
Yeah, but the stations are all the same, aren't they? They're in the same economic zone.
No, not necessarily. I usually get better missions out of Asylum than I do out of Savika, but I still get good shit out of Savika if I go there.
Yeah, I mean, there's the odd good mission from Okorafor, but Siotamac is the one where you're guaranteed to have multiple factions offering multiple planet data scan missions. Oh yeah, this one just put the base that I have to scan in the inside of a crevasse. So now I've got to fly the ship into a canyon.
What do you use for a ship? Your Python?
Yeah, I'm using the Python. And I actually took passenger missions back because those are also... I mean, there's a tourist... the scan missions don't take any cargo, and the availability of some of the passenger missions is too hot to pass up. Like if you get 3 million for delivering someone, you know, for a transport mission within... Transport missions are identical basically to cargo in terms of...
Yeah. Well, I've kind of noticed the last few days that a lot of the cargo missions, they're not paying out nearly as well. Instead of getting 3-4 of them at a time that are around 1 million credits, I only get maybe 1.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and what sucks about it is that you go out and invest all this time and effort in getting the right ship for cargo, which I did, and then they nerf the frickin' cargo missions so that they're not as lucrative. So now the Type 9 isn't worth as much as it used to be.
Well, that Type 10 is still worth it to me, considering it's a nice weapons platform. I've got it all decked out for doing mining missions, or just for mining in general.
Yeah.
And then I can still haul without having to change the setup. I can still haul 400 tons of cargo just the way it's sitting right now. So it's kind of purposes right now.
The ability to haul cargo and defend it well, which is what the Type 10 is really designed for, is a nice feature. The Python does not give you the same amount of cargo, and there's no fighter. So, but then again, the Python is worth 30 million less than the Type 10. So, I mean, you're getting a better ship really in the Type 10. But I mean, you know, I can step up from the Type 9 to Type 10 pretty soon. I mean, what the hell have I got here? I got 16 million in balance, plus I've engineered this ship up quite a bit, so I could probably buy the stock Type 10 fairly soon if I want, or I can just keep saving and get the Anaconda, which is like a Python on steroids.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I haven't made up my...
The main reason I'm going to keep my Python is because I can land on medium-sized...
That's why people are keeping that ship around, is just because, you know, the large pads are not always available. They're talking about increasing the number of them, but, you know, you can't dock with...
I'm limited to star bases. I can't go to
little shit ports. Yeah.
Little bases I can't go to.
And yet they do have, the stupid thing about those bases is that they do offer ports usually for large capital ships, right? They just won't take the heavy transports in between, but they'll dock with, like, you know, anything above a Corvette. And the Corvette needs a large pad as well. Anyway.
I got myself up another rank with both the Federation and the Empire.
Yeah, I'm officially ranked with Master with Empire now.
I'm Lieutenant in the Federation and a Viscount in the Empire.
Viscount. It's pronounced Viscount. You have to remember in French the S can be silent sometimes in French. So Viscount is pronounced, well, with no S, just long I. I don't know. French doesn't really make much sense. It makes about as much sense as English. You ever see Mark Twain's? You ever see as much? Did you ever, like, there are lots of languages that have better grammar, like grammar that makes more sense than English and French. But like German seems to my mind to make more sense, because German, which I've had some training in, you get like if you want to say a word like a noun in German, you say the word for bat in German is Fledermaus, a flying mouse, basically. Like you piece words together to create a new one. And out of that,
that kind of works, though.
It kind of does. I mean, I don't know. I think it sort of does make sense. German is all of the Western European languages are to some degree mongrel languages, which means that they borrow words from other languages. And I don't see. I mean, in French they have l'Académie Française, which is they have a bureau, an office in Paris, whose responsibility it is for coming up with new French words instead of importing too much English. For example, the most famous example of which would be ordinateur instead of computer. Because at one point in Parisian French, or quasi-European French, I guess, you would just say computer. Well, l'Académie Française steps in and says, no, we're not going to do that anymore, because otherwise, the French language ceases to exist after a certain point.
Yeah.
If you ever wonder why Quebec in Canada keeps wanting to separate, or making noise about separation from Canada every once in a while, they'll never join the United States, and they'll never try. The United States wouldn't have them. The primary reason: the United States is a melting pot. You speak English. English is the official language of the United States. The United States will never accept a
Unless you speak Spanish. Spanish is
you have some
very common here.
It's very common. You have some services offered, but it's not required. Your court system won't support it. If you refuse Spanish to people, no one's going to sue you over it. In Canada, you try that with French, you're going to get sued. You have to sell your products in both official languages. That's just the way it is, right? That's what it means to have more than one official language. And it's why in Louisiana, which is actually a French U.S. state, the one example we have of a Francophone U.S. state, Louisiana, you have some people that will speak locally, some variant of French, like a Louisiane patois or something like that, but they will never have standing in the courts. And you'll never be allowed to use it in your elected offices, for the simple fact that it's not an official language. And it never will be. And that's why Quebec will never join the United States. It would have to in order to make it as a independent entity, it would actually have to become its own country, and there's just not quite enough support to do that. Besides which, it's kind of stupid. Like every time that there's there's a traditional split in the population. 60% want to remain in Canada, and 40% want to separate. And there's a bit of fluctuation in there from time to time, depending on circumstances politically. But basically, Quebec is never leaving. Like, it's just not on. It's too big. It's too complicated. They'd have to, mint their own money, have their own currency. There's even talk at one point amongst the separatists about leaving Canada and minting their own coin. But instead of doing that, they would just use the Canadian dollar. Can you imagine having your own country and then not even being in charge of your own currency or your own economic policy? What the hell's the difference then?
There's a lot of countries that have adopted the American dollar as legal currency.
Right, but are they really independent when they're so subservient to American financial policy? If the Americans want to, for example, move away from a reserve banking,
they're not being subservient. They're just recognizing the value of our currency as being equal or better or whatever than their currency. It's just commonly used.
Yeah, well, Venezuela didn't do that with the American dollar. They went with Bitcoin instead.
Well, Venezuela don't count. It's a dictatorship, and the United States really doesn't want to be associated with them anyway.
No, but
there's a lot of African countries that have adopted the American dollar just because it's more stable than their own currency.
Yeah, that's true, but they could adopt any one of a number of currencies to do it. The U.S. dollar is the world standard against which all other currencies are measured. Not necessarily because it's more valuable. The British pound is technically more valuable than the American dollar, and it always has been, and it probably will be for quite some time. A pound sterling has always been greater than a U.S. dollar. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just a value, right? It's a decimal place. Who really cares? The reason that American dollars are used is because they are the de facto standard. Just like... Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm coming across a bunch of missions here, damn near every port I go to, where it's like 700, 800, 900 units of something for about 1 million credits. But it's all the wing missions. Transport missions.
Say that again. It's how many? What? I didn't.
A wing mission here. 1.25 million credits.
Yes.
You need to go somewhere, get 966 units of titanium, and bring it back.
Okay.
There's a lot of missions that I'm seeing right now that are between 700 to 1,000 units of something for about 1 million credits.
Well, you and I could do.
Make a couple trips of them.
Yeah, you and I could probably do a transport mission together of that sort if you want to. The other thing we can do is we can hunt pirates, because I see a bunch of joint pirate missions, and the main selling feature, that little blue icon, is that you both get paid the full amount cited in the mission spec. So for that 47 million one that you pulled up last night, I verified it, we both would have gotten the 47 million.
Nice.
Whereas,
if we'd known that, then we should have gone and done it, because then we'd have pulled a profit of...
Well, again, it was 8 million apiece for profit.
Well, that was figuring if I had done that all by myself.
Yeah, but you make double the money because there's two of you, right?
It would cost 39 million credits just to buy the slaves. Well, you split that in half between two people. That's what, about 9.5 million apiece.
But don't forget the number of trips. Right, the number of trips we'd be doing. Don't forget, I was still running an fairly undefended, and still is an undefended Type 9.
I'm just saying, though, that as a wing, then if that's for each person in the wing getting that price, then yeah, then it's well worth doing some of those missions.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's why when we do those blue wing missions together, like we've done one, and the one that we did was a joint fighter mission, right? So go kill the pirates, and the only problem with those is that you have to kill like 100 pirates to get the amount of money that they're offering. But If you're willing to spend the time and go on combat that long, it might be worth it. But I haven't seen it lately. They nerfed both those ones along with the cargo ones. So I'll have to go back and check and see if the combat missions make it worth you and I to go out in Pythons and blast the shit out of everything somewhere, close by, relatively.
Well, there's one that I saw on Pirates in Tangaroa. You needed 6 kills to get like 300,000-400,000 credits.
Yeah, that's not very good. You should be doing better than that. For pirates usually, first of all, they're usually out of system. So they'll say, go kill whoever over here for, 1.5 million or 2 million credits. It's not worth it if it's half that and you have to split it with someone else, but it is worth it if you have 2 people that are jointly taking on each 6 pirates or whatever. And then you go in a wing and you do whatever. But they're trying to probably find the perfect formula for these wing missions, because I noticed today there's yet another update. That's 2 updates in the past week. So, I don't know. They better be offering some money, is all I'm saying. They have to pay to get us. To get us.
There's a civil war going on in Tangaroa right now.
Which side are you on?
Everything right there is combat-related missions.
Well, the other thing, if you want to do combat, is we can go in and support one of the sides in a conflict zone together. I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident about wandering into a conflict zone and blasting the shit out of those guys. Then you go collect the bonds instead of the vouchers. I don't know if you were aware of that. That's where you get bonds from, is you go into the conflict zones. And then you don't get vouchers for those, you get bonds. And the other thing you don't get is, regardless of which side you pick, you don't get into trouble. So even if you picked the wrong side, which I don't know I don't know if it affects your standing with the faction, but it doesn't cause you to become wanted or be guilty of murder or anything, because everyone who's participating is consenting in the conflict. And I guess these areas are probably set up as safety zones to let off steam, I'm guessing. I don't know what the rationale is behind them.
I don't know.
But anyway, they exist.
I'm not into the whole combat side of this game too much.
No, but at some point...
I'm just rushed. I'm just playing delivery driver again.
Yeah, well, you let me know anyway if you want to do a joint cargo mission. With 2 fighters, we might be able to hack. We might be able to defend ourselves properly. Might. But I'd like to step up. I'd like to step up my freighter a bit more before I start taking it into combat, because it needs a few more defenses.
At this point in time, my Python will probably be the only thing worth battle ready. My Type 10's got a bunch of weapons on it, but it's not ready for doing shit.
Yeah, but I can only carry a maximum of 128 cargo in my Python and maintain a jump distance of 20 light years. If I take more than that, it's going to start costing light years.
Yeah.
So that's about it. I can really only take 128. The other one, the freighter, will take, probably 400 or so. It'll certainly go over 300, and probably I can get it to accept 400 before it's overladen. Its main defense will have to be... I'm trying to work on its shields, but it's not a very good shield tank, and so it's going to be relying heavily on weapons and fighters. So the only defenses you really have with the mothership are getting big-ass short-range weapons, and then using your fighter for medium to long-range combat and blasting the hell out of anything before it gets too close to your mothership, I think. But I don't have a lot of fighter combat experience, so I don't know. I'm very good at defending a Python, but I wouldn't necessarily feel as confident about my abilities in a freighter situation unless I was the one defending the freighter with my Python. I suppose you could always get a joint fighter mission together where I'm carrying 128 cargo and you're carrying most of the cargo in your freighter. And that would give us the benefit of using me as the big defense craft. And then you would be the main cargo craft. You'd get your fighter for combat. I would use, and you'd have your automated combat with the mothership, and I would use the Python's weapons, targeting anything that came close to you or threatened you, because you carry the lion's share of the cargo. And because you can take multiple loads to finish one of those missions, if we lost some of it, probably get some more of it from wherever. I don't know if we would lose the mission if we lost part of the cargo.
Don't know. I haven't done one of lost cargo yet.
I'm kind of curious, though, what happens if you lose part of the cargo but not all the consignment? The only way is to guess.
Usually they have X amount that needs to go from here to there, and if you don't get all of it there,
You lose the mission.
Lose the mission. Now I know that if you fill up your cargo hold and the mission timer ends while you're in between point A and point B, you get fined the value of whatever's in your cargo hold. And
No!
It's a bitch to try and get rid of it.
Yeah, but you can.
Property.
Yeah, but then you can just take it to a black market, and you just have to list the black markets on your galaxy map.
Yeah.
There's always a black market nearby. You can find smugglers for just about everything. I wonder if that works. If it works that way in the real world. Like if I wanted to buy a shipment of hot cars. Like, could I do that? And how hard would that be? Like, you can't really.
I don't know. It's getting into the criminal underworld where I don't want to go.
Well, but that's a whole other kind of the criminal underworld I've ever encountered. The only part of it is drug related, and that's where about 90% of the populace, if they have any contact with the underground at all, that's usually where they go, right? But there's a whole other aspect of crime. There's human smuggling and prostitution, and and I'm talking about dirty old men prostitution, not like consenting adults prostitution. In Canada, by the way, prostitution is technically illegal here, but the cops will harass the shit out of you still, is how it works. They like to move you into an area of the city. What's that?
It's legal in Canada?
Yeah, it is technically legal, but the cops don't like it if you can't run a brothel down the street in your neighborhood. Like that won't, or across from an elementary school or whatever. The cops won't let you do that. So you'll be in violation. You could be found in violation of zoning, or if they want to be real shitheads, they can charge you with criminal vagrancy, I believe, is what they call it. So if you're just hanging out somewhere and you've been warned not to do it, and then they catch you again, they will charge you under the criminal code. But in Canada, sex workers have rights, whereas in the States, they don't really. I mean, basically.
It's not tolerated.
It's not tolerated, no. And the United States has traditionally been, as strange as this is going to sound, because it's counterintuitive, God knows, but the United States has traditionally been more Protestant, more Quaker, where it found, the initial founders and initial colonists of the United States, they were Quakers, right? So these are people who didn't really like sexual promiscuity. They thought it was an affront to God and all the rest of it, and it's just sort of been carried down over the years. So it goes right back to the founding of the United States. In Canada, it's a little less clear, because we don't have that same, we're technically a Protestant country, I guess, but Not anymore. We also have a Catholic, like we obviously, when we absorbed Quebec, prior to our founding as a nation, we ended up absorbing a great deal of Catholic thinking on the subject. So, yes, technically it's a sin, but it's forgivable and blah, blah, blah. And in the end of the day, nowadays, since about the 1970s at some point, they decided, okay, we're going to take this out of the criminal code, and we're going to put it in, and then they made it so that you could be zoned pretty much very discriminately. And no one really stands up for sex trade workers, like those that get abused. I mean, there's still pimps and things here that happen, but I mean, pimps don't have any rights, obviously. Under the law, they can be charged. But if you're just a middle-aged woman who wants to make money on the side having sex because you've somehow managed to hang on to your looks, there's probably a way for you to do it here. Whereas in the States, it would just not be tolerated at all.
Okay, so yesterday I got a message or whatever. It says, tip-off. Hello, Commander Squaddle. There's a crashed ship with an abundance of cargo to be collected. Make sure to scan the ship data core there, as that'll be the big earner for you. The ship has been there for months, but a cleanup crew is finally due to arrive in a couple of weeks. So if you want the loot, you'd better head over there soon. It gives me, tells me where it's at, and then the latitude and longitude coordinates.
And where is this in the galaxy, roughly?
Karsuki TI A6.
Karsuki A6.
Karsuki TI.
Oh, Karsuki.
Karsuki TI. There's two words.
No, Karsuki Tai.
It's the system.
Okay.
It's like, when I look at it, it's about 300 light years away. I don't know if it's worth going for. What the hell's there?
If I did go that far, I'd want to drag my freighter out there just because it's a cargo run. But
yeah, I'd be taking my Type 10.
How far does your Type 10 jump?
Ooh, hell, 20 light years, I think, if I'm not loaded down.
Yeah, I can't.
17 if I'm loaded.
17, eh? Okay.
But I might be able to increase that some. I don't know.
Well, no. What I was thinking of doing is getting to get my freighter. My freighter's at 12 right now, so to get it up to 17, I have to gain 5 light years, and I think I can do that. But if I upgrade the engine some more, like I haven't even stripped the ship down yet, like its components, to give it a better weight class. If it had a better weight class, I might be able to pull off 17. I don't know about 20. It's a Type 9. I mean, there's limits on these things, right? So
the Type 9 and the Type 10 are pretty similar. Mine's just got more guns on it. I think mine's a little heavier. But I think otherwise most of the components are the same.
Well, if it's, in theory, if it's got the same drive, what are you using for a drive in that thing?
The FSD drive is the A rating, whichever size it is, 6A, I think. But when I went and ran around to the engineers the other day, I pinned the blueprint for upgrading FSD drive. So basically, when I went back home, I was able to go jump to each one of my ships and upgrade the FSD drive, so they all got a little more range now.
Well, anyways, I would have to take the freighter out to, how long do you have to decide to do this? Couple weeks?
Like Wednesday of next week is when it's done with.
So you'd like to go out there and get this cargo?
Yeah, probably should. Just go see if it's worth a damn. And if there's any information on the...
Well, you know what I can do? Here, I can do you a favor that you can't do right now. I can jump out there. 300 light years is only 6 jumps into my Diamondback. So I could actually very quickly zip out there, check it out, and zip back again.
You You probably won't be able to find that ship though without me being there. Probably won't spawn.
Well, that's true. What about if you have a Diamondback? Do you have one?
No, I've got an Asp Explorer that jumps about 35.
Well, that for you is about 8 or 9 jumps, so...
Yeah.
I mean, you have to zip out there, see what's what, and then decide if it's worth the cargo. You know, if the cargo is worth it. If it is, then yeah, I'm probably in. I just have to...
At that rate, go out there in my Explorer and explore it, obviously, and see if there's a station nearby that I can just shuttle my Type 10 to. Might cost me 1 million credits to do it, but if I'm going to pull 5 million credits off the ship, it might be worth it.
That's another option, but don't forget, I mean, moving a Type 10 is going to be a costly endeavor, I think, you'll find. Unless you...
I know it is. I've already looked at it.
You have looked at it, okay.
Yeah, it costs money to move them. I know this.
Well, my Python also takes about 1 million some odd credits to move like 300, something like 300 light years. It might even be more than 1 million. It could be easily 2 million.
When I was at the engineers, it costs the same for the Type 10. It's within like 100,000 credits for the Type 10 or the Python to ship them there. So.
Yeah, I don't know how they figure out what costs to move things remotely. But it ain't cheap anyway.
I think what they do is they figure a certain percentage of the value of the ship times how many light years it's got to move. I think is how they figure that formula. I just never had the desire to try and figure it out. I'm sure I could, but don't need to. So.
Well, here's what I propose then. You go out there, find out if the cargo's worth anything first. If it is, then we do a joint cargo mission. But you'll have to let me know if you're going to do this, because that means I've got to spend time hauling my freighter from wherever it is. Oh shit. I have to spend time hauling my freighter from one part of the galaxy to the other, and it's going to take time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably a full...
Let's get done running these missions around. I can go back and see what it cost me, or see what I got, and figure it out.
Yeah, well, let me know.
I got like 3 more deliveries to make.
I'm still hurtling through over a planet's surface here, 22 kilometers above, closing on a search zone that I was 200 kilometers away from, and it's like very hard to maintain altitude. When you're this far away.
That's why I come in damn near like a rocket straight down towards the target, so that when I drop out of Marvel Cruise, I just drop into regular cruise and skip that whole annoying coasting part.
Yeah, well, see, now, like, for my second scan of the search area, it's costing, it moved me almost 40 kilometers, well, it did move me, I'm just under, closing on 30 kilometers now, but it moved me 40 kilometers away from the next search zone, which is too damn far. It's going to take a minute or two to get out here.
What really sucks is when you have to go back up into orbit and leave the planet's base of the gravity well, just to turn around and go back to the planet again.
I know.
I had to do that on the same planet 4 times. 4 different missions. That pissed me off. You gotta get about 300. You gotta get about 30 light seconds away from the planet before it triggers the damn mission.
Yeah.
Scan location. Go back to the same planet you just took off of.
Which is exactly what you have to do if you jump in too far away. Okay, so now it moved it again. Now it's 20 kilometers away. And this planet that I'm visiting, it's a tiny wee little planet. Probably like maybe twice the size of Ceres in the asteroid belt in our system. And you can clearly see the horizon bend. It's that small. Like, holy shit, this planet is tiny. Okay. And we found the outpost now. Okay. Slowing. Now at 2 kilometers from the outpost. I have wanted sticker on me now. I don't like these wanted stickers. I generally don't like stickers, actually, come to think of it. They kind of suck. How do you feel about stickers?
Yeah, rather not.
Yeah. Especially if they say wanted on them.
And Orca coming into the station. Oh, you just left.
And it's most annoying when you have the beluga like on its way out and you're coming in with your freighter and it's like, holy shit, how the hell am I supposed to fit through? Like, you cannot fit 2 Type 9 or 2 Type 10 Defenders into those space doors at the same time. I don't think. Like, one of you
have to center up with my Type 10 to go through the airlock.
Like, you have to wait and use your scanner and make sure that you're not. You're not gonna intrude. Hang on. Oh, what the hell's going on here? Scanning. Scan complete. And the turbo turret is attacking. A bounty has been incurred. And now we've got 1 shield arc down, those little fucking turrets. The good news is with the turrets, of course, is they can't chase you.
No, they're just gonna shoot you for, ever.
Okay, we're gonna go back to Mr. Starbase up here, which I left parked in orbit somewhere. Townshend Orbital, there it is.
Cannot comply.
Cannot do that. Will not let me do that.
Might as well get a cell phone at this point, man.
Okay, so here's what we'll do.
Clippers.
Here.
Okay.
Frameshift drive charging. 4,
3, 2, 1. Engage. Oh, there we go. Townshend Orbital. It's behind the gas giant. Well, how the hell do I fix that? And of course, it's plotted right in the middle of the gas giant, directly opposite the gas giant, so it's right behind it. There's a utopian farseer, overseer, I mean. Oh, there's another human player in this system. He's approaching. ASP Scout. Commander Wolfgang 1. He's flying a Cobra Mark III. He poses no threat. He's fleeing. Here he comes. Oh, he's fleeing like a son of a bitch. I'm crossing the speed of light. He's disappeared. Fucker.
Alex?
Gotta go to Red Cliff tomorrow.
Oh, that little bastard. He took off. I wonder how often that happens where you have a human in the system with you and you don't even get to see them until they can turn and flee like that. I wasn't going to shoot him. I was going to interdict him and then, like, yank his ship out and then run away. Although I'm in my ship out...
The other day when I got interdicted by another player?
Yeah.
And my computer ended up kicking me back to the desktop?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it at the time, but as soon as he interdicted me, he tried sending me a message. He tried doing that salute thing. So I think he realized after he interdicted me I was another player, and he was trying to
say hello.
Trying to say hi. Sorry. Hi, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. Well, you can always check your log, and you could, like, send him a friend message, and then you could find out when he's logged in, and you could talk to him. But you see, the problem with the friendship system is that it gives there's only one kind of friend. It's the kind of friend that you want to know everything about your current position in the galaxy and everything about your ship. So he'd be able to identify your ship and where you are in the galaxy remotely. And what if you don't trust the person that much yet, where you just want to talk to them at range? You can't really do that with the way it's set up right now.
Yeah.
You have to make a decision right off the bat.
They need to give you the ability to go through friends list, I suppose, and pick and choose
What settings you
want, which ones you want them to be able to find you.
Yeah. Otherwise you don't have, or just have an option for friends like share location or not, you know. They can know everything else, but without a location, it's all useless information. Well, it's not useless. They can talk to you, which is the whole point of using the friends list in the first place. But, and I guess if they were proving to be untrustworthy, you could unfriend them, but you'd have to encounter them at least once to find that out.
Yeah.
You have to risk an encounter.
Would show up out of the blue and come shoot your ass.
Yeah, well, then you just run away and unfriend them and go, fuck you, and leave.
Well, this is nice. I'm delivering a shipment of shit to B214791 Plague. They have a dictatorship, and I'm unfriendly with them.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure why I'm unfriendly with them, but...
Oh, I just got some money. Now I have 17 million credits instead of... Okay. So now we should have like 3 million more credits or something. Hang on. What do we got here? Transactions. There's three more. Holy shit, I'm gonna have quite a haul when I get back to my main base. That's 2.0 in Siadamac. Another 2.1, that's 4.1 in Siadamac. And another 1.1, so a total of 5.3 million credits. All in Siadamac City. All for different factions, but all at the same base. That's fucked up. So it looks like Trump might be getting impeached at some point. That'll be...
Getting impeached don't mean shit.
Well, that means he can't be president anymore.
No, impeached just means he's brought...
Oh, before the Senate trial.
In Senate.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Impeachment is a trial.
Yeah, Clinton was impeached. Clinton was...
Had quite a few presidents that were impeached and still served out their terms. It doesn't mean jack.
No, but if he gets impeached, then he's at risk of being deposed. I don't know what the term is when you lose a president that way. Like, Nixon backed out. He was the closest to come to being fired. Trump would, I guess, be the first president fired from office.
Yeah, but I don't. More than likely, all that's going to happen is he'll have to go sit in front of Congress and answer a bunch of damn questions. It's basically like being drug into a courtroom as
and forced to explain, yeah.
Go in and answer a bunch of questions. Really,
but then he needs the support of the Senate, and he's probably got it. Well, you can't have impeachment without public support, basically. Like, the voting public, the 2/3 of the American populace that can vote, would have to basically be of the same mind that it's time to get rid of the president. And then the Senate would, presumably, based on recorded vote, they would be compelled, they may feel compelled to fire him. They don't have to listen to the public, but if they don't, of course they're risking not being reelected. So I don't know if it means he'll go, but it did mean, for Nixon, it did mean that he was no longer president, because he would have lost the Senate trial. And so he avoided that nonsense just by resigning as president, not even being impeached in the first place.
Yeah.
Clinton was a different story. There you had Kenneth Starr, and you had, people in the housing scandal, and he was way too popular to actually be deposed from office by force of the Senate. So, yeah, you're right. He was impeached, but so what? What I mean by impeached, and it's not accurate, but what I meant to say was that Trump could be removed from office if he's impeached. And
I'd be surprised if it actually happened.
It does seem to take a really long time to go through. Like, if on election night, which this would never happen, but if on the night that he was, on the day he was sworn in, if on the day after they started the impeachment process, he'd still be allowed to govern for a couple of years into his term before he'd ever have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Right? The only merits of getting rid of him right now, from a practical standpoint, are the fact that the White House is more or less dysfunctional. Like, he's not able to implement any of his policies because he faces way too much opposition from inside the country, right? Like, he can't build his wall because he can't get money for the military, which would have to staff it, he needs money for the military. He has to get ready for war with North Korea. He can't build his wall because, it's just not going to happen, basically. There's not going to be a wall. It drives me crazy, though, when politicians lie as much as this guy does and he gets away with it. It just drives me crazy. I'm not sure I'll ever be too old for it to not drive me crazy. You would think it would have happened, but it already happened to you. And you're younger than me. Certainly has happened to my father and people in my family. But no, I still give a shit and still think democracy is pretty wonderful, and I wish we had something resembling I wish the United States had a real democracy of its own once again. I mean, you utterly shook my universe yesterday when you told me you couldn't vote and gave me the explanation as to why. And now I sort of have it in my head that this complaint that I've heard before, with not just on the criminal question, but on others, where people are encountering barriers to voting. Like, even the law-abiding have their own... You can still have trouble voting even if you are a completely law-abiding citizen. It's not an instantaneous thing, necessarily, that you get to vote.
Yeah, you got to be registered to vote in the county or the district that you live in. And
I've heard stories about people...
It's not hard to register, but...
No, but you have to do it, and a lot of people, they aren't thinking about this when they move, right? Like, if you move out of your district into a new one, it's not automatic. In Canada, what they do is they use the tax... You have two choices. Either the tax list automatically enlists you as an elector where you're living, because that means you've already been there the requisite half year, right? You have to... 3 months. It's presumed that you have lived where you are claiming to live now on your tax form for at least 3 months. So you automatically qualify when that happens. If you don't file your taxes for whatever reason that year, it doesn't matter because you can still register to vote. Right? So in that case, you can just go to the day of the election. You can literally bring your driver's license or your passport with you, and that's good enough. As long as it's photo ID. And it never even used to be photo ID. It used to be a birth certificate was good enough. If you presented your birth certificate, you could actually be given the right to vote. But now you need photo ID. So they made it slightly harder here, but... It's not like there's...
Photo ID around here is kind of a pain. You gotta have proof of residency, and proof that you live where you say you live, proof that you're... Yeah, it's like... My wife just had to renew her driver's license. She needed like 3 different forms, or 3 different forms of proof of where she lived and all this happy shit.
See, that should be enough to get you into the voting booth in the United States already, because you've already done that. So why duplicate the effort again?
Well, that's just to get a driver's license. Usually when you get a driver's license, at that point in time, you usually register to vote and all that shit right then and there. It's all one simple process, so...
I see, okay.
Otherwise, you got to go out. Anytime you move... Say you move, you still live in the same town, but you just
Yeah.
moved to a different house. You're supposed to go renew your driver's license.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that here too. You're supposed to.
People don't bother doing it. You get pulled over by law enforcement, and they just ask, "Is this your current address?" And say no. They're like, "Okay, what is it?"
Yeah.
Tell them where you live, and
Well, here they'll take it. They take it the step. Well, you'll have to re-register this license, or your license could be declared invalid. Now that you've told me, right?
they don't bother with that around here because it's more of a nicety, I think. They don't really seem to have too big a fit.
No, the cops want the cops.
Get away from the station.
The cops do want.
And I'm sitting here scanning a bunch of high energy FSD wakes so I can get the materials off of them. But every time I scan one, another one or two ships pop in or out, so I get more to scan.
That's to keep life exciting, you know.
Well, the easy thing to do is just go sit about 4 kilometers away from the entrance to a station. Just sit there and scan everything coming in and out of the station.
Someone will attack you, yeah, to do that.
Released. Engines engaged.
As long as you're not shooting at anything, nobody gives a damn. I mean, I scan the police forces all the time. They never bother me.
No, the police don't, but the police ships, I mean, I stopped scanning them as soon as I identified them as a police ship because they're literally, there's nothing gained by scanning a police ship. It'll just...
I've gotten all kinds of those anomalous scans. And
except for that, yeah, you get the anomalous scan, but I have lots of those, so I don't really need to do that anymore. But if you just sit there, you can get like all that scanning crap. Hang on, what do you get? Inventory, is it materials or data? It's data.
Yeah, data or whatever it is.
So what the hell do you use data for anyway?
Some of the engineers require the data so that they can rework your scanners usually.
Yeah, but I've got like hundreds of, well not hundreds, but dozens of different kinds of data.
I know a lot of times scanners, like my scanners, a couple of my scanners on my ASP are upgraded. And a lot of times that's what they're used for. A lot of the FSD telemetries and stuff from scanning the wake jumps.
Yeah.
The FSD weights, those go towards upgrading your FSD drives. So I mean that's the main reason why I'm doing it, so I can collect the shit I need to.
Oh, I see. Well, the thing is, it tells you if you're short. No, I'm not short. Like I have lots of different kinds of scans. Dozens in almost every category. There's a few I don't have. I have 0 still. For example, I have only 3 ship systems data and a 0. Let's see if we can find a 0. I have 2 data mined wake exceptions. And that's it. There are no 0s. I have 1 of absolutely every kind of data you can have, including Thargoid wake data. I have 15 Thargoid wake datas. The one thing I don't have is I don't have any Guardian wake data.
Eccentric hyperspace trajectories.
Hey? Hyperspace trajectory?
Yeah. They're used in FSD drives usually.
I would think. You're traveling through hyperspace, theoretically.
Yeah.
Of course, we're still not entirely sure how the FTL systems work in this game. In reality, you remember all those alien sightings? How you always hear, oh, it was a ship and it was flying super fast and it didn't make any noise. There's one type of drive system we're just getting the knowledge of right now that could pull that trick off. It's I've never heard of this. The NASA has done some research into it, so has China. The LQBR faster than light system, and it leverages quantum, like the standard model in quantum mechanics, quite a bit. But basically, you're going to change reality around the ship so that you effectively, you end up changing the speed of light in a very narrow and confined space, an envelope. And there's a way to do this using some kind of bastardized fusion reactor, as I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong on some of these details, but you need a reactor of some sort. It changes the nature of reality around your spacecraft to allow it to go FTL, to appear to the rest of the universe going faster than light. Another way of thinking is you're moving space around your ship instead of moving your ship through space.
That's pretty much the lore behind our FSDs in this game, who I was reading. That the ship doesn't move through space. The FSD pulls space, basically pulls the star system you want to the ship. The ship doesn't go there, it pulls the star system to the ship.
The only problem with the Alcubierre drive system right now, they don't have one working, at least not officially, because the energy requirements, while they are not quite as severe as moving, 0.9 C through normal space, it's considerably less than that. It is still not inconsequential. It takes a lot of energy. Like we're talking to run 3 or 4 cities at once worth of energy to get this ship to get this envelope built for even a small craft. So yes, it's possible, we think, and no, it's not easy. But if you had a way of producing energy that was very generous, you could theoretically pull it off.
Oh, that's why we gotta wait till Tony Stark builds us a couple of arc reactors.
Or something like that, yeah. But I think NASA and a few others are working on tricks to try to drive down the energy requirement, and that's where the focus of the research is now gone. So that they can...
Why do you think the United States shut down its space program?
Well, it didn't shut it down exactly. It's defunded it. At least the public space exploration system is, for the time being, defunded. But I think with exploration of the solar system, what was it? There's a new thruster that was recently released just this year. They can now produce thrust using an air intake system. So as long as you've got stored air, you can build a thruster now, like an impulse thruster. And it will carry, instead of burning rocket fuel, you would burn air, effectively. The beautiful thing about air, although it is finite in amount, yes, the beautiful thing about it is that there is still plenty of it to use. And you can always get...
all of our air out of our atmosphere on spaceships.
Well, I don't know if you got like a really, really large fleet of them, but I'm sure they can work on the technology so it doesn't corrupt our atmosphere to the point where we don't have one left. At least that's the hope. But in the short term, they would be able to launch rockets fairly cleanly from an environmental standpoint into space, and they wouldn't have to burn, tons of kerosene. It would actually gather part of its fuel supply on ascent, so that you didn't have to have, millions of metric tons worth of fuel and then produce a thrust for that too. So some of these things are pretty exciting because it means that, well, space exploration can actually start happening for real.
Frameshift drive charging.
It always was about making it cheaper. It wasn't whether or not we could do it. Once we were on the moon, we realized, okay, yes, now we can do this, but unless you have the resources of a major country like the United States, it's not generally something you want to spend money on. A nation state has just got too many demands on its tax base to really accommodate such a venture, except in the most extraordinary of circumstances, such as that which gave rise to the Apollo program. I mean, we had to beat the Russians to the moon. Okay, well, there's some national benefit to that. When you think about it too, I heard one person, I think it was Niels deGrasse Tyson, who said that, who pointed out that Columbus, when he got 3 ships from King Ferdinand of Spain to go to the New World, that he only believed was there. What sold the idea to King Ferdinand was the benefit to Spain, right? The financial benefit of encountering a previously unknown continent full of resources and wealth that Spain could exploit. And if you look at the Crown Treasury of Spain in 1492, it cost about the same. Well, no, it costs less than it did to launch the Apollo mission, but it was on the same scale. Because you're building 3 of the finest wooden ships that Spain could put together. Yes, it was the leader in naval shipbuilding at that time. They're one of the few countries on Earth that could pull off something like this on a semi-organized basis. But
I got a job here. Deliver 60 units of palladium. 1.6 million.
That's a good one. Take that one. What's that? Is that a shared one, or is that just you?
Just a single one. It's only 60 units.
That's not bad.
I've got like 208 tons I can haul with my Python that I'm in right now, so I'll just scroll through and see if they got anything else worth a damn.
Yeah, you might want to deal with that faction some more. See what other cargo missions you can get if you're not already allied with them.
791 Fortune Solutions.
By the way, I don't know if it was you that was telling me you were kind of hated by the Plevnik Justice Party. I'm in alliance with them right now, and probably will be over the long haul, because they give almost all their missions are planet scan missions. So they're especially good for that type of mission. Okay, so what do we got here? We have Giovanni Mondo. Nobody wants to talk to him. And who's this? Claude Sack. And he just got off my scanner in a keelback, the son of a bitch. Nope, he's in a Viper Mark IV. What am I doing here? Hang on. Haha! And he's in a wing of 2 with some nationalists. HIP 963 activists. 493 activists. Whatever. Some damn number like that. What? Okay, coming up on the port. Now, what was it you were saying? If I hang around outside the starport, I can get a battle. But that's only if the system security is low enough to allow for battles to happen near star bases.
Usually you got a civil war going on to find those.
Yeah.
And Tangaroa's got a civil war going on right now.
Yeah, but this fucker here... Shit. There we go. Orca. Fuck you and your Orca.
Just shoot it, you know you wanna.
Well, I do want to kill everyone aboard, but... Here's what we'll do instead. We'll just sit here for a minute. We're 3 million kilometers away. Sorry, 3,000 kilometers away from the station. And we're going to sit out here and see about a ship. And let's just find out if our system is... Well, but there's no ships at all here right now, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, you need a starport that's got a lot of traffic. You
Yeah.
can sit there and scan shit.
Well, just wait a second. Hang on. So, there's civil unwar. No. I want security. There we go. What do we got? It's blue, which means it has medium security. That can't be good. Say, medium security and no one's here. Haha! You little fucker, I'll get you. And your little dog, too. Okay, there's a star way the hell out here. It's a Viper, it's a Utopian Overseer that's absolutely useless to me. Beta Woodstock is in a fer de lance, is wanted and closing like a son of a bitch from 13,000. No, wait. Oh, it's an expert. I don't think I want to tangle with this guy. It's an expert fer de lance from the blue mob. No, I don't think so. I don't like that idea at all. Here, let's just go over here.
It's just too bad you can't get up and walk around the cockpit of a ship. Because the Python's got a damn big cockpit.
Well, this is why people are kind of debating how angry they want to be about... Shit. They're getting all pissed off that they can't, that they're not going to develop space legs, because space legs would give you that feature. You would be allowed to walk around your ship, around the starbase. You could go have a beer with your friends. Or if you felt like doing drugs together, you could try out some onion head.
I suppose just trying to add those features to the game are probably not easy.
No, it's pretty tough to simulate being high in a VR helmet. Or anything else for that matter.
Well, on Grand Theft Auto, you can get drunk and high in that game and it's all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah, but it's just like the screen gets all fucked up. It doesn't really... It's not like they shipped you some cocaine via mail order and then... Which, by the way, you can do now, but I wouldn't try it in the United States. It's safer to do within Canada's borders. Because here, there are laws that prevent the government from checking mail. In the United States, there don't seem to be, although I understood at some point they had them. But without a warrant, the Canadian police cannot open your mail, and they need to know what's inside the envelope first to get the warrant. So, it's kind of a catch-22. They'd have to have evidence, like some sort of external evidence, that there was drugs inside the package in order to open the mail. Even then, you can always just say, well, whoever sent me this package, they were just doing it on their own initiative. I didn't necessarily order anything from them or ask that they do it.
This is a flight regulation announcement. Please proceed to dock on your assigned docking pad in a timely manner, and refrain from obstructing other docking areas.
What the hell is that? Do you know there's like something over top of the roads now in the starbase, like a little house? And I'm quite sure it wasn't here before.
Please show consideration for fellow visitors.
I don't know.
Slow down and maintain a
Yes,
reasonable
I've never
distance from
noticed
other
it.
ships inside this dock.
Maybe. I don't know. It's different than it is. Anyway, bottom line of that is it's probably safer to order drugs online than to try to get them out of the street. It's probably a good deal safer for you as well, although you're still ordering from bikers in the end, so it's not like they put quality control on it.
To keep bay traffic flowing smoothly, please follow standard operating procedures and request docking permission before entering the starport.
It's funny though, and I remember that about GTA, is that you could buy drugs and you could sell them, you could do them.
Yeah, my character's
Docking
got
bay access is bidirectional.
big old bong full of marijuana. I can make them smoke it whenever I want.
What the hell is it?
My biker clubhouse. I got.
Does it give you anything in the game to do it, or is it just like fuck your video up and that's about it?
It basically just makes it all blurry. It makes it nearly impossible to drive a vehicle and walk. The dude visibly stumbles around and he swerves so damn bad he's hitting everything. Don't try driving a motorcycle when you're drunk or high in that game because you're gonna fucking smear yourself.
What the hell? So, are there different kinds of drugs yet, or is it just one kind of default of like generic drugs?
I guess if your character's in his own home or in a friend's home or something like that,
Yeah.
they can smoke. They got a big bowl. They can smoke some pot.
Like, can you do lines of coke and like stuff like the harder stuff? Or, like, do they pull out syringes and start doing heroin together, or like?
No, I think that would be a little too controversial for that, even that game.
I know that game's got a pretty high rating already.
It was a fun game until all the modders and hackers and all the 10-year-old little kids started having hissies and tantrums, and Rockstar started catering to these fucking idiots.
Yeah.
That game's ruined. I mean, I won't even log back into that game ever again unless I want to go into a private session, just go drive motorcycles around.
Yeah.
Kids are unhappy because they like playing that game with me because then they just chase me around and
Yeah.
but I won't even turn the fucking game on anymore because they don't like.
Well, the thing, you know what it is? You're allowed to make video games where you could you could shoot heroin, for example. And it's permitted, at least in several countries, including, I think, the U.S. I'm not 100% sure. But what happens if you do that is you pay a price for doing that. If you're a company and you make a game with content that's too controversial, where you have, people are shooting heroin up and driving cars too fast and smashing and killing other people, you start living a thug lifestyle, right? And if you're in the game doing these things, your ESRB rating is going to get such that you can only market it to, like, basically adults, and that means that a store would have to.
Grand Theft Auto is supposed to be for its adults, so you
Is it?
all the time.
Yeah, but kids started playing it because they realized, oh, here I can shoot heroin or whatever, and they could, like, you know, kill people in the most gory way. And then a few high school shootings later, you know, people are looking for causes for what might happen, what might be the source of this behavior. And regardless of whether or not that, you know, a video game was involved or not, they just make it so that to be on the safe side, you know.
I will soon.
To be on the safe side, they just don't allow it, except for, and then that means you can't sell it in any of the boutique shops. Best Buy won't carry it. You know, some of the big box stores won't carry it. Just because they want to be family stores or whatever. So you basically take a huge shot in the leg, no pun intended, because you can't sell your game, your software as widely.
If you got Steam sells it.
Yeah, Steam will sell it, but it doesn't matter. Steam is on the internet, right? So it won't affect Steam's bottom line. But if you're in a big box store where a certain number of these things do get sold for the Xbox and PlayStation and whatnot, what's that?
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's gonna affect your bottom line. And don't forget, if you're a corporation, you got shareholders to be responsible to. You have to maximize profit, etc., etc. If you're a businessman, you don't really care so much about, you know, whether or not you can shoot heroin in a game. You're not going to be that religious about it. You're just going to be, we'll just do whatever makes us the most amount of money in the end. It all comes out of the boardroom.
Yep. Yeah, it seems like, I think they've made some tweaks to how you gain reputation. Because it used to be, it'd take forever to get superpower reputation, but now, shit.
Everyone has it.
Just running around delivering crap, I'm already up to 72% friendly with the Federation. Figure a week ago I was at like 15% with the Federation.
Really? That sucks. What about those of us that put in all this effort to, like, get our rank buffed? Holy shit!
When I got my Viscount rank, I also ranked up with the Federation still, so apparently they ain't fixed that one.
Well, you know, some of the ranks are also faster than others. Like, I aced my way right through the one before Master. I can't remember what it was. Surf? I didn't even see Surf. I would not have seen Outsider. And now I'm ranked Master, and I'm at, like, hang on here, I'm just in the screen now. I'm already 60% through Master, on my way to, I don't know what's next. Probably Night or something. So, I've got a fair bit of patronage already. And my Federation rank is, like, quickly approaching Lieutenant. Or Post-Captain, sorry. Or is it Lieutenant? I guess it must be Lieutenant. But I'm almost where you are now. And you used to be 2 ranks ahead of me.
In the Federation, or?
Yeah. Like, I'm at Ensign right now. I'm about to be Lieutenant. I'm like at... And it's 64% right now, and it's gained, like, in the last 2 gaming sessions, it's gained between 15 and 20 points. So...
Well, I'm thinking quite a bit today, because I'm just flying around from one Federation station to the next, trading shit.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I stick it out with the Federation, I'll be a Lieutenant probably in the next gaming session or 2. I'm also spending a lot less time in the game than you as well. Like, I'm only spending 2 or 3 hours a day. You're spending longer than that.
We would like to welcome
not really.
to this facility.
I might spend 3...
Well, the nights I've been with you, every single night this week, you've been in the game before me.
Yeah, but also while we're sitting there bullshitting and conversating, I'm also running missions too, though.
So am I.
I'm really good at multitasking.
I'm not. Not this way. I like to focus on things and give it my best. Give it my best, my all.
This is a flight
Like if I get distracted, I get frustrated.
Please do not obstruct the access corridor during arrival or departure.
Okay, so now,
I've had to learn how to multitask because my job requires it.
yeah, in theory, so, I mean, I can multitask as long as the tasks are not, like, overlapping each other in terms of time, but if like, a part of my day has to be spent doing something, I can switch tasks from A to B fairly quickly. I'm very good at that, but I can't just do two things at once. It has to be one or the other.
I have 4 machines that I have to keep running as non-stop as I possibly can do it.
Yeah, like today I was designing...
Completely different jobs, completely different machines, different controls. I mean, I've had to learn how to...
Yeah, the difference between a software developer and what you're doing is that, I think, is that a software developer also has to be creative. There's a creative aspect that requires an all focus. You have to not only design, like, you're not just saying, okay, a button goes here, a button goes there. You have to figure out what the button looks like, what the text on the button looks like, put that button, you know, remember to copy it, map it to code, put the code in, map that to a database, put the test data in, remove the test data. You know, the number of tasks to get something done in a computer interface, the number of steps and the degree of complexity is quite high. And a lot of people find it too high. Even though I'm telling everyone it's just following, you know, steps. But it's not necessarily above any particular person's ability to do. I'm sure you could learn how to write source code. Whether or not you'd find it enjoyable is another matter, but it does require a degree of concentration that many jobs do not.
My job requires me to pay attention to 4 different machines, keep them running, which means I have to go there and manually change parts and start the machine back up.
And you have to know the machine is running.
When it's done in that part, I have to go change and put the part in.
Traffic flowing smoothly.
And I've got 1 machine at any given time that is in the process of being set up on a new job.
Right. Whereas my job, I can't design 4 pieces, four forms at the same time unless I lay out a strategy to do that ahead of time. It has to be one thing at a time, and so force of habit. It takes too much...
I'm just simply saying my job requires me to multitask, so
yeah.
It's gotten to the point I pretty much do it in my free time as well because it's what I'm used to doing.
This
and
is
if
a
I try to
flight
pay attention to
regulations
just one
reminder.
task alone,
Please
I
do
get
not
tired and I
obstruct
start
the
falling
access
asleep.
corridor during arrival
Yeah,
or
well,
departure.
that's less likely with software development, I'll put it that way. You're always doing something.
Yeah.
Designing one form or writing one class of code is always enough to keep you busy. Okay. Yes, so I want to cash in my shekels.
Services at the starport are constantly being updated.
And then I want to see what passengers we can carry.
I'm jumping back to Kangaroo. I was just there about 4 hours ago. I wonder if anything's changed.
I'm about to get 7 million out of this. Doing pretty good financially again. At least I'm not worried about, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my ship, and then, you know, all the shit's gonna hit the fan. Oh, this one, it says Seotomac City. The mission is completed. I'm in Seotomac City, but for some reason it won't give me the credits.
Oh, give me 15K to show up sooner. 60K
Well, that's
to show up sooner. 90K
that's
to show up sooner.
weird. Dude, this is weird. It's not even giving me a choice. Like, the mission is finished. I'm at the point where I have to hand in the mission. And it won't show it to me.
Do you have Is it one of them that gives you items to put in your inventory? If your inventory is full, it won't even show the mission.
It says the reward is reputation and influence.
In the interest of smooth traffic flow within the docking bay, we request that pilots avoid blocking...
How do you choose a reward? Don't you have to do that when you take the mission?
No, when you turn it in, you can choose a reward. Some of them, they'll usually have three options. You can take...
Yeah, well, it's not giving it to me. It's the Polevnik Justice Party.
Not all of them give you multiple reward choices.
The Polevnik... Oh, you know what? The Polevnik Justice Party isn't even listed right now. Something happened to them.
They're not in that system or at the base.
Well, they were. They're not now. I don't know what that means.
Means there's a civil war or something. They got booted out because I know in Balder there's a military surface installation that I can go to even when I'm not wanted in Balder. That's just because the Tangaroa Empire League controls Balder space, but they don't control that military installation. So I can go to that military installation and still do business, even though the rest of Balder won't shoot me on sight. So each station, each base has its own faction list. Each system has got its faction list. So I mean, it's just kind of...
Yeah, but the Polevnik Justice Party was at both stations. Now it's probably only at just the one. But it says deliver it to Siautomac, which is where I'm at.
The pilots, please show consideration for fellow...
Well, that's my point. I don't know either.
And maintain a reasonable distance from
like, why is it not here?
Well, sometimes factions withdraw from systems and stations if they're don't have enough influence in that area or that station, the system. They'll withdraw sometimes.
I wonder if I go to the other station if it'll let me claim the mission, but I'm gonna have to check now because this frickin' thing isn't... There's nothing obviously wrong. It just says it's the Polevnik Justice Party. I have 2 days, 8 hours, and 38 minutes to complete. Starport, Siautomac City System HIP 493. That's where I am, so... I guess I can leave this here for now, but it's pretty weird that... That was one of the factions that gave the most number of scan missions.
Were they planetary missions or...
Yeah, planet scan... No, they were planetary scan missions. And even if they were Civil War, I mean, you can't contract someone to do something and then just welch and say, no, we're not paying you now. That doesn't make any sense. It's a relocation manager. Here's the mission board. Okay. And now... Yeah, we're missing a... Let's see, let's check the passenger lounge. See, and the Blue Mob isn't here either. They're not in missions, but they're in passenger. Which is weird. But, like, the Mafia doesn't offer missions anymore, but it offers passenger missions. So something is haywire here. Oh wait, no, there it is. Okay, well, what the hell? Okay, well, we'll go to the other station anyway for now.
Flight regulations reminder. Please do not obstruct the access corridor during arrival or departure.
And we'll just see about this group and see if they exist anymore.
Docking coupler disengaged. Depart safely from the station.
I mean, I was allied with them. The only thing I did notice about Polevnik Justice Party was that they were constantly asking for money.
Landing gear retracted.
So if they ran out of money and went bankrupt or something, maybe they're gone now.
That's possible.
So in order to figure that out, we're going to go to the other station that I frequent. Yeah, see, Automatic City still shows a mission due.
You are now clear of station perimeter. Safe travels, Commander.
What's he trying to say?
Shift drive charging.
He went downstairs to find a Walter. My cargo along her cargo along was put in part of the floor of that walk.
The only good news about this, is that it's the cheapest mission. Like, it's worth the least of the 3 that I got from that system. So I still get 4.2 million, but I could get 5.3 if I figure this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna some garbage. So today was kind of a crappy day. I only pulled about 12 million credits, or only earned about 12 million. Started at about 21 million. I'm at 33 now.
Yeah, well, I started at, let's see, I started at 13, I'm now at 20 and change. So I only got 7 million so far, but I can do a little bit better, I think, before the night runs out.
I wasn't doing a bunch of scams today either, though. I've been running around doing the...
Hokey pokey?
Yeah, running around playing a delivery driver. But let's look at mission, see if I accomplished my goal of getting my factions back up. Or my reputation.
Just remember, if you do a hokey pokey, you have to turn yourself around.
Tangaroa Empire League. I am 100% allied. A Industries Ltd. I'm 100% allied. Tangaroa Dynamic Network. I'm 100% allied.
Until they disappear.
I'm 100% allied.
They're going to disappear too.
Green Party of Tangaroa. I'm about halfway, about 50% allied.
Gone.
Balder Empire League. I'm probably about 30% allied.
Poof.
So basically, I'm back into allied with all those factions.
Poof. They're all gonna.
When I died earlier, I fucked all those reputations up.
Yeah, well, they're all gonna get fucked up again when they disappear.
The Tangaroa Jet organization, I don't even mess with them because they're the criminal
Element.
I don't want this base to become shit.
A terrorist carrier.
Yeah, when you do missions, you can pick. You have a pick on which factions are in power.
Hang on, I got a Type 7 that's wanted here. Hang on. It says I have to get behind the target, and then you fuck him. Get behind the target and fuck him up good. Okay, here's it. There we go.
Oh, another one of those stupid chain missions. I hate those things because they usually want you to do something stupid.
Okay, I have to fuck.
No payoff.
I have to fuck this guy up good. It's my big chance.
Yeah, I'm not cordial with somebody in BD 214791. You utilize the proper name. I mean, the system's actually highly populated. So BD 21.
He's running for it. Hang on. What you gotta do is I'm gonna do this guy. That's fucking with the ass. Here we go. Aha! I gotta admit, this cannon of mine is hilarious. It always hits. It goes boom, and then it hits him. Then there's some green shit comes out, and that's,
Shields offline.
and then it's dead, usually. See?
I need to get turrets back on my Python again.
Yeah, you just can't live without those turrets. Okay,
Oh, I
he's
can't, but it's just more annoying.
spiraling out of control. I mean, there's literally a spiral in front of me as he tries desperately to escape and evade my gunfire.
At least the Python, the nice thing about the Python is you can actually shoot some of the guns on there and do fairly decent
Oh yeah.
weapons. But like my T10 or my whatever the hell it is, my T10.
Yeah.
That thing, the weapons are way on the very outside of the ship. So wide apart that even the gimbaled weapons don't hit the target properly. So you almost have to put turrets on them because they're so damn big.
Yeah.
Damn wide.
Hang on.
But yeah, I've got 2 multi-cannons, I've got a burst laser, and 2 seeker missile racks on my Python. The burst laser is turret, the rest are all gimbaled.
That's what you want.
Well, I guess missiles aren't gimbaled, they're
Cargo scoop deployed.
fixed, but they got heat seeking.
Okay, so what we have here is my collectors are out. We've got conductive ceramics, which is a very good thing. Heat dispersion plate, another very good thing. Anything that's got like heat dispersion or ceramics, very, very good to have. Because it almost always goes to your weapons and almost always makes them makes you indestructible. Chemical manipulators, those are good for bombs and shit. I like bombs.
Jump in my Type 10 and actually see what I got for jump radius, jump distance with that.
A Type 10? Yeah, you should.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go to bed here shortly though.
What? Why?
10:39 p.m.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
I gotta get up at 5 in the morning.
I know, you gotta get up way earlier than me. Actually, I put in a full day today. I applied for 3 government contracts, and I got my database application about 30% finished. Next, we'll go to Okorafor Station. Lock. Let's point at our target and engage the main drive. There's the planet. Huge ass fucking planet that we got right in our view screen here. Oh no, it's getting bigger. That could be a bad sign.
Hard points. Let's see.
Frameshift drive charging.
I've got a 3E burst laser turret.
3, 2.
Another 3E burst laser turret. Those actually came off the Python. I put them on here at the time, so I had something. Got a 2F multi-cannon. 2F multi-cannon. What damn it, those are modified. Where the hell did they come from?
Yeah, I've got nice cannons. I think I have a trio of burst lasers that are modified to the max. Although I should double check that. I'm not sure if I've got new mods on all my stuff yet. And it's a good idea for you to do that. Whoa!
Rearrange most my weapons from one ship to the next.
UAC Tango Drone near India. Conflict established.
Landing gear
Reverse
deployed.
position at a safe speed and give way to larger vessels, Commander. Request denied.
I should get a I've got 3 Pack-Hound missile racks on this ship. So needless to say, if I launch missiles, that's something they're gonna be very unhappy. I don't know if a point defense could take on 12 incoming missiles at once.
I can't remember how many you get. I think the number that you get there, it says how many it can fire before it has to reload. That's effectively how many you have. But I can destroy half of them. My shields can absorb 6 easily.
Approach is good. Maintain current heading.
I could launch all 12 of these at you once just to see.
Oh, you'd get through. You'd hit.
Deal with it.
Yeah, my shields would deal with it, but I could only take that a certain number of times. But you'd have to hope that you got. Plus, your missiles have finite range. Uh-oh.
Landing gear retracted.
Cobra Mark III just ahead of me is landing at Bay 43. I'm at Bay 41.
Landing gear
Docking. Docking. Docking.
No utility mounts on this.
I am docked. And we have hard seal.
Docking restraints engaged.
Opening the airlock.
I wonder how well.
I think someone's at my door. Hang on a second here. Someone's at my door. They're not ringing my doorbell. I hate it when people don't ring my doorbell. If they come to my door, I can't really hear them. But it's an apartment, so they figure, oh, I'll pound on the door. But the doorbell's right there next to them. Like, ring the doorbell. Like, I'm considering putting up a sign.
I'll usually ring the doorbell and then I'll knock as well because you don't always know if the doorbell's working or not.
That's right, that's fine, as long as they do one or the other. Hopefully it's the doorbell, because a knock I might not hear, but the doorbell is high enough pitch it's going to go through my VR helmet. Just one of the reasons I got the stupid thing, so I could hear its chime wherever I was. Otherwise it could be knocking from inside the building, for all I know. I hate for it to be the police or someone like that, and they blast your door down, and then it's like, what the hell's going on? Why didn't you answer your door? Because I had the headset on my computer, and I couldn't hear you. Am I under arrest? Again?
Okay, so
It's been several years.
I have a power distributor in my Type 10. I need to upgrade that to a 7 eventually.
Okay.
I have a 7B frame shift drive. I could probably upgrade that to an A.
Yes, eventually. They're quite heavy if you have a B, but you get lots of, you get lots of boost out of it. That's one of the reasons I ignore the rule about using B-class artifacts. It's either, for everything else, it's A or D, but the frame shift drive gets an exemption.
I've got 7D thrusters right now. Just because I don't have the money. I do have an 8C power plant, and that's just because that's what I could afford at the time to upgrade it. Right now, my Type 10 will go 20.96 light years max. Currently, the way it's set up right now, I can jump 20.31 light years. If I am loaded down, I can go 16.53 light years.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's comparable.
To have everything do about 20 to 25 light years.
I don't think you'll hit 25.
My Python does about 23, 24 right now.
But your freighter is not going to be going should not go as far as your Python, from what I've heard. It should be less than your Python. And how you got a Python up to 23, I'll never know. You must have empty slots in your optional modules.
I've got all of them there. You just go you just go to the engineer and you boost the FSD drive, max it out. That's all I've been doing on these.
Well, that's what I did, but I also have Class A. I also have Class A everything else.
Class A is not always necessarily the way to go. Sometimes the power requirements or the weights will change in the different classes. Find the class that gives you the most jump.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that, but I mean, I want the Python that I have. I want to have the best equipment for what it does. If I'm taking a limpet controller, I want the best limpet controller I can possibly afford, which at this point is pretty much everything. The only thing that I've saved, the only thing I've done that is not as best as it could go is with the hull type. The hull is a military grade hull, which is step 3 of 5. The next level up is mirrored hull. And beyond, there's mirrored, anti-laser, and anti-kinetic hull types.
I just go with the grade A military one because the other two you lose.
You lose something, yeah.
Kinetic, or you lose heat dissipation. You gain one, but you lose the other ones drastically. So I just stick with just the plain.
That's also my view. Unless you know you're going into battle with either Thargoids, in which case you might want the kinetic one. And if you're going to battle humans, you'll want the heat dissipation one, because although yes, the kinetic weapons will get through more effectively, it's not like you lose that much on them from the military grade, but you do lose something, so you have to be careful about going beyond military grade. But I've taken the military grade hull, so that's a 51 million credit hull.
That's the main thing that you have that I don't on mine yet, just because I haven't bothered to save up.
But I guarantee you, the military grade hull is the heaviest of the hulls. So
okay, get this one. Okay, my Type 10.
There's only 5 of them.
Right now, I can jump 20 light years.
Yeah.
I've got an 8E cargo rack, got a 7E cargo rack, a 6C bi-weave shield generator, a 5D hangar full of Taipans, 4E cargo rack, a 4A refinery, a 3A limpet controller, another 3A limpet controller. I'll
lose on the bi-weave alone. I'll lose half my shield points. Although those shield points will regenerate very quickly, I will lose half of them. So I'll go down from 670 hull points to 300 and mid to high 300s.
I've got 2 5D hull reinforcement packages on this ship right now.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna. I cannot take a bi-weave ship into the battles I've been going in. It just, regardless of how fast the hull recharges, it is just not enough.
My shield strength is like 130.8 right now.
Yeah, I mean mine is over.
I think the reason I went with that one, I think, is because I stole it out of a different ship. I think that was in my Asp Explorer at one point.
Well, then you've got a class of shield type lower than your maximum. But anyway, regardless, I'm not taking. I'm going to keep what I've got for now, because although I do lose 3 light years on distance, those 3 light years buy me way more in terms of capability. I have, for example, I get 2 SRVs, which strangely enough, there isn't that much difference between the Type 1, like having 1 SRV and 2. Reason being because your bay is what takes up all the weight. So the SRVs themselves are the light part of the bay. Even if I've got 2 of them, I'm not losing that much in terms of weight. So I may as well have 2. Like, I've looked into it. It's only 3 light years I'm missing. It's not that much. But I just know I'll never hit 25. Not like this.
I think I'm gonna play a bit and see how much cargo room I can actually get on this ship.
Well, you can get quite a bit. Even I can get 128. You could probably pull off getting, a good 170 something, I would imagine, easily.
I've got 400 in this Type 10, and I'm set up for mining right now.
Yeah. But I still think 128 shields for a ship that expensive is way too little. Like, you don't forget, your shields are your guarantee. They're your guarantor against losing that investment, and I just do not want to go into. I don't want to expose myself to that much risk where, I'm just gonna let go of whatever it is, 12 million credits.
Right now, I have enough of a balance. If I blow this ship up, insurance costs, I can buy it 4 times right now with insurance.
Yeah, you just wait. I'll be able to get. See, unlike the Python, the Type 9, I know I can advance its light year count quite considerably. But how far it'll go, I don't know. I think somewhere between 15 and 17 it's where it's going to max out at after I'm done. We'll see. Could I get 20? Probably. But again, you have to have a fighter bay, in my opinion. I'm thinking even about bringing a second fighter into the mix in case I want to start enlisting human crew. Because there are times a day where you can get human crew off the grid there. And if you can offer them a fighter, they'll stick around with you and they'll fight for you. And their human crew are always, well, not always, almost always smarter than the computer. Not necessarily, though. If you get it, you could also end up with a new player who's just going to take your fighter, and you may as well flush that fighter down the toilet. And if they do that, you can always say to them, well, I'm not giving you another fighter right now. I don't have bays full of spare fighters to just offer people.
So I rearrange it. All I've got now is all cargo racks, but I have my 6C shield, my 5D fighter hangar, and my docking computer. I've got 432 tons. The 32 tons from setting it up to haul cargo compared to having it set up for just for doing the mining really doesn't matter.
No.
The fighter hangar, I could probably go with a class 4. That'd give me
4 fighters.
Jump me up a little bit.
Or would that give you 2 fighters? I can't tell how many fighters you're allowed to have. I know you can get at least 2 into the Type 9.
Well, you can put 2 fighter bays in, but I don't know. I think you can operate one.
You can only put 1 fighter bay in, but you still get 2 fighters. So in other words, you can't launch 2 fighters at the same time. You can launch 1 fighter at a time out of 1 fighter bay. But you can have 2 fighters on board, ready for that hangar. So you only need 1 fighter bay. I mean, why the hell would you need to have, multiple fighter bays unless you need the capacity to launch multiple fighter craft simultaneously? And the only ships that really need to do stuff like that are Farragut class and Majestic class battle cruisers, or ships of the line that are larger, like a Wells class carrier. It'd be nice if, say, you're in your Anaconda or something, and you're going into battle, you could bring 2 humans along with you, and they could each pilot a fighter. You still can. You just but you can only launch 1 at a time. Yeah. Right? You can bring 2 humans with you. You can launch 2 fighters, but the first one has to go first. Then the other human loads the other fighter, and then the second human goes in the other fighter, and that's if you have still cargo left over, personnel left over, at least the NPC, who can still fly your mothership. So that's how you would do it. But you'd need, I mean, there's still only one fighter bay for that scenario. Even though you're flying 2 fighters with humans in them.
Well, I'm saying is that I stay and pilot my ship, and I have 2 other people, 2 other multi-crew people, 2 other humans running the fighters. Because
Well, you can put up to 3 humans in a Type 10, I think. You can have a gunner, you can have a helmsman, you can have a fighter pilot, or a systems engineer, although being systems engineer is kind of dumb because all you end up doing is reallocating energy around.
Yeah.
I mean, as exciting as that is, I'm sure, you know, oh, there, I'll hit this arrow button, but I mean, it's not so much the functionality and mastery of the arrow button, it's the mastery of when making sure the energy is where it needs to be at the right time. But those are your 3 roles, I think. And then that's it. That's all you can have, is up to 3. You can have up to 3 humans in a ship at a time. I think the Corvette is the same way. I haven't heard any different, and so is the Imperial cutter.
As far as I know.
Although I haven't seen the bridge of the cutter yet, so I'd have to go look at its bridge, and I could tell you. Oh, and of course, whatever role you pick, it has to be vacant on that ship. So you can't take gunner if there's someone already sitting there. Obviously. If they leave, then you can take over their spot, and someone else can be systems guy. Or helm, or whatever.
Well, the systems guy, he's going to run the... He'll manage power, but he also manages the limpets and things like that.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, he does get control of the limpets.
He's the one who runs the ship defenses if you got to run chafe or things like that.
And the heat sink.
I think they can run the scanners too.
Yeah, but in battle you're not going to be really concentrating on limpets. And when the commander is there, he can run the whole ship. So, what the hell?
So right now I can jump 21.16 light years with this ship.
Hang on a second, I want to see something. Find a crew.
If you're unable to complete docking procedure within your time slot, you'll need to exit the bay and resubmit a docking request.
Oh, I see. So with the crew thing, you have to select mentor a player. You can do Xeno hunting, Xeno research. These are just telling people what you're doing. They're not really assigning crew. To do that, hang on. No. Multi-crew options. Disband the crew. Okay, screw the message. Find a crew. Okay. Or I can join another ship.
Okay, I'll be right back.
If you say so.
Services at the starport are constantly being updated. Remember to visit every time you pass through the system.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, so I guess that's that. And now we will go... the planetary nose job. In the Wajemi system. We're not doing that one.
For the safety of all visitors, be considerate of other vessels.
We'll do that one.
Through the main access corridor. Enjoy your stay at our facilities.
Shift detach complete. Restrict speed until clear of the station perimeter.
Ooh, I can do some increasing of my FSD range.
By the way, the Polevnik Justice Party seems to have disappeared out of the game completely. It's nowhere to be found in its home system, which is not Polevnik, strangely enough. So I don't know, maybe they disbanded. But they don't seem to exist anymore, so I don't know what the hell that means.
I need some manganese, some arsenic.
Oh, you need arsenic to boost your FSD very far, and I'm constantly running out of it. That and niobium are two of the ones I run out of a lot.
I need the manganese and arsenic just so I can upgrade my FSD.
Yeah, at one point I also needed polonium, but for some reason I was able to find lots of polonium. I don't know where, but I should write these things down. But anyway, yeah, arsenic.
I just upgraded my FSD, so let's see how much of an improvement I just got.
I can now FSD jump my ship quite far, like 9 jumps on maximum, so short of having a neutron star handy, I can at least now move my ship 30 light years in a pinch if I have to.
17.65 light year jump and fully loaded. It went up a bit. My max jump went up 1.5. I'm now at 22.75 light year max jump. I can't complain too much.
Yeah, normally you gain, at maximum, you'll gain 4 times, maximum, which is a neutron star FSD charge. You get your system boosted to 4 times regular jump distance, whatever that is. If you FSD boost yourself, you will get plus 100%, up to 100%, so double your distance.
I've yet to do either of those options.
Like I said, you need polonium, you need a couple things.
Yeah, it's not going to happen if you don't have the materials for it, obviously.
No, you need the materials. Okay, so here we go. We're going to look for a building on Planet X, which here is Gemini 6 Bravo, in orbit of a gas giant. Oddly enough, one of the things we're discovering, and I don't know if we'll discover this in the real universe very often, but there are lots of these little moons of these gas giants have their own moons. So you have a moon of a moon. And I don't know, we haven't started exploring the galaxy for exomoons. You know what they did? Oh, I was so pissed off with NASA. They lost more funding, somehow. And now, they're not launching the James Webb Deep Space Telescope, which would allow them to identify atmospheres around alien planets, for another full year. So now it's 2020 to launch this thing. It's been delayed about 800 times since the project got started. You know, they invest, I don't know, $5-6 billion. They have to keep cooling this thing, right? Because its mirrors need to constantly be kept at near absolute zero. But what will Congress do? It'll somehow rationalize that all that money is worth just keeping delayed further so they can launch yet another defense project, because they can't seem to find a way to spend defense funding, you know, in a sane manner.
Yeah.
And you know what else happened? They put Bolton in charge of Secretary of Wars, effectively. Effectively, Trump is a war cabinet now. He's like ready to fight. His cabinet is configured so that he's ready to fight like a major war. Except it's not clear the United States is going to be in a major war, so...
Well, maybe he's hoping for one.
Well, you can hope all you want. Until one comes, you're not supposed to have the war cabinet before the war starts, except right before. Unless you're going to launch it. And if you're going to launch an attack on North Korea, the time to do it was a while ago, not right now. I'm not very often in favor of starting wars, but in North Korea's case, I would be in favor of it. But it would have to be done correctly, and with the aim of safeguarding lives. Especially now that Canadian lives will be involved. I found an article that basically verifies Canada's obliged to go to war in this case if the United States declares and gets UN support. If Trump is able to get UN support based on the violations of the sanctions, which he might do, we're going to be in a wartime scenario that will involve the UN, Canada, several other countries. I think there were 12 other nation states that would be asked under the terms of the UN Defense Agreement that was used to justify previous military action in North Korea, they would theoretically be obliged once again to support the United States. Except I don't think that the clause applies if the United States starts the war, so that actually might answer the question. Like, if North...
The UN declares it, then the United States is obligated.
Well, if the UN declares it, theoretically a lot of countries are, but North Korea is a special case. It's governed by something called the United Nations Command Authority, which was set up to fight the First Korean War, right after World War II. This is kind of like the New World Order, part like Chapter 1. It was the very first major global conflict after World War II. And the goal, the objective was to stop the communists from being able to commit acts of aggression in order to expand their influence during the Cold War. And whether or not it worked, you can debate the point. That authority has never been rescinded. Technically, North and South Korea are still in a state of war, so the countries that signed the armistice, and that includes Canada, would still be obliged to enter hostilities if North Korea attacks South Korea again.
Do you know that Russia and Japan are still technically at war from World War II?
Really?
Yep.
No, I did not know that. I knew they had territory disputes in the Japanese Sea, north of Okinawa, but...
No, Russia declared war on Japan like 2 or 3 days before we bombed Japan.
Yeah, but that was but at that point...
They never had a peace treaty between those two countries.
At that point...
They technically still have war with each other.
Yeah, at that point, don't forget, though, that this was also very... I think it was shortly after this point that we heard about or rather shortly before that point, we heard about the alliance between Nazi Germany and the Japanese Empire. And they were going to go for the gusto. It was clear at that point this was a fight for the whole planet. Whichever side won would gain control of the planet. And if it was a war between the free countries, the free communist countries and the free democracies, against the tyrannies of Germany and Japan. The main difference being that if you were conquered by Germany, you faced domination and political incorporation into the German Empire. Same goes with Japan. Whereas Russia and the United States, in theory, had no such allegiance. At least Stalin said originally that was the case. Of course, that changed after World War II, but during the war, that was true. But I did not know they had not settled their... I knew they had a border dispute. I didn't think that they had not signed the peace treaty together. There must be an armistice in effect, though. Because there was a global armistice. Yeah, there was a global armistice signed between all the powers, all the warring parties at one point. So that I would expect is still in effect. But
there might be a still standing ceasefire, but no official
peace treaty. But they've actually had relations between, like, there's diplomatic relations between the two of them, I thought. Like, Japan maintains an embassy in Moscow. At least I thought there was.
It wouldn't surprise me, because...
Yeah, but usually if you're at war, you can't...
Japan's government changed, too, after World War II.
Yeah,
they done away with the imperial.
They did away with imperial. The United States had the Marshall Plan for a while, and then they handed off power to the Japanese, democratically elected Japanese authority. And then that was it. That was the end. of hostility between Japan and the U.S., and then there was reconstruction in both Germany and Japan after that. See, a lot of people don't keep in mind, too, if we go to war with North Korea, we have to pay for it if we win.
Yeah.
Right? We have to rebuild the North Korean economy in concert with South Korea. So it's not just about going to war, it's about how much money can we spend financing not only military operations against North Korea, but rebuilding North Korea after we blast the hell out of it.
We're still dealing with trying to rebuild Iraq a decade later.
Right, and you probably will for another 2 decades, they say, on top of this.
Yep, so do we really want to start rebuilding another country again?
I don't know, do you?
I don't know.
It's going to cost a lot of money. It's in the you know that Canada's debt, by the way, this is good, you're going to laugh. We just now, for the very first time, hit $1 trillion Canadian dollars worth of debt. And
I mean, we've been there for like 50 years now.
It's been at least almost, I know it happened in the 90s. You crossed the line in the early 90s. But it took this long for the Canadian economy to actually find a way to spend that much money. About 30% of it's been since Trudeau was elected, the current Prime Minister, so he's starting to get scrutinized now. We have a pretty stable, pretty strong economy, so the prevailing thought is that yes, while it's $1 trillion, it's not the end of the world because, you know, interest rates are low. Canada can afford to make the payments as long as that remains the case. The problems begin when you leave that safe zone of low interest rates.
Well, I hate to say it, but I gotta log off and go to bed. So.
Okay, take care.
Talk to you tomorrow.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Well, at least we're making some headway in being able to multitask, as he puts it. I can't quite figure out why. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, it's this one and this one. Yeah, okay.
Incoming message. Bounty incurred.
Okay. $7D is the next one.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1.
So we're going to pass close to the 6D gravity well. And we've got 2 more worlds. We have to scan in the system, and then we have to hit a base, and then go back to HIP 493. With Gemmy 4, with Gemmy 8. We passed about 3,500 kilometers outside the atmosphere with Gemmy 4. We are now accelerating to 4 kilometers per second, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 0.15C, and now climbing. We are 2,000 light seconds out of Wajemi 7D, advancing to light speed. 0.8, 0.9 light speed. We are less than 3 minutes from Wajemi 7D. 1,700 light seconds and counting. Mark. $1,500. 1,400. 1,300. 1,200 light seconds and falling. 1,000 light seconds and falling. 38 times the speed of light. 600. We have missed our target at 7D, spinning around, headed back to 7D. This moon appears dark, but is also facing the sun opposite from the planet.
Orbital flight engaged. Trespass zone. Incoming message. Trespass zone cleared. Bounty incurred. Heatsink deployed. Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so we should have this world and then docking with Starport to clear bounties off, and then we're back to HIP 493.
Orbital flight engaged.
Okay, now we're ending up right in the ravine, in the crevasse.
Under attack. Target shields offline. Bounty incurred. Target destroyed. Landing gear deployed.
Low gravity warning.
We'll be right back.
attack. Target destroyed. Warning, you have entered a trespass zone.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. We're crying out loud.
Incoming message. Bounty incurred. Bounty incurred. Handbrake is on.
Landing gear retracted. Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1, engage. deployed.
Oh no, it's a terrorist carrier.
Docking successful. Engines disengaged. Engines engaged. Landing gear retracted. Frameshift drive charging. Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2.
India, please comply with access protocols before commencing docking procedures. Permission granted. Set course for landing pad 4-5.
Use your speed and maneuver your ship inside the docking bay.
Landing completed. Clear to disembark. Station facilities are at your disposal.
This is a flight regulation reminder. Please do not obstruct the access corridor during arrival or departure. Unlawful behavior in or around the starport is not permitted. We thank commanders for the cooperation. We would like to welcome all commanders to this facility. Please ensure you complete all docking procedures within the allocated time. This is a flight regulation announcement. Please proceed to dock on your assigned docking pad in a timely manner, and refrain from obstructing other docking areas. Unlawful behavior in or around the starport is not permitted. We thank commanders for their cooperation. Visitors. Please alight at your assigned path, and thanks for choosing this facility. We advise that all commanders be aware of their speed while in and around the starport. Thank you for your cooperation.
Well, that's going to be it for tonight, folks. I'd like to thank Frontier Development and the rest of you who've subscribed to my YouTube videos at youtube.com/apprefactory and linked from ross613.wordpress.com. You can also try direct link to the YouTube site for Commander Trium's video log index at bit.ly. That's bit.ly/apprefactoryvfl. That's Alpha Papa Papa Romeo Echo Foxtrot Alpha Charlie Tango Oscar Romeo Yankee and Victor Foxtrot Lima. Apprefactory VLL. Again, available from Bitly. This has been the 29th of March, 3304. It is 5:14:49 Zulu at Siad Mac City in HIP 493. I'm Commander Trium, your host. Thanks for watching, and good night to all. Once again, we'll probably see you sometime tomorrow. Bye for now. One more thing I should mention. I encourage everyone to visit twitter.com/CM as in Mike DR _Trium. That's Tango Romeo India Uniform Mike Commander _Trium. Again, twitter.com/Commander _Trium. With Commander abbreviated. That is another site which will link you directly to those video logs. Again, we'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye for now.